Today, we're taking a look at the Falcon CP90, a brand new model that is the first quadcopter offered from GoFly-RC. The quad comes packaged in a box that shows that GoFly is trying to build a name for themselves. The quad comes fully assembled in the box, with you just needing to add your own receiver. Included are 5 rubber feet, which keep the battery from being pressed into the frame screws, which I have already installed, and a set of motor guards to use in place of the propeller guards. Underneath the foam is a very thorough set of instructions that goes over the setup of the quad in beta flight, how to use the VTX, and the details on the flight stack. As the quad is a plug-and-play, there is no battery supplied with the kit. Moving on to the actual quadcopter, the CP90 is a micro brushless quad with a well-designed 95mm True-X frame. The frame features a plastic canopy that fully protects the custom flight controller and most of the electronics. The only exposed electronics are the motor pads of the ESCs. The base plate of the frame is 3mm carbon fiber, and the side plates of the canopy are 2mm carbon. This makes the frame very tough and rigid, despite all the lightning holes that are cut into the base plate. For a sub 100 gram micro, this frame should prove to be very durable. The quadcopter comes with propeller guards installed that are made of a very flexible plastic. The guards should hold up to minor crashes very well and allow for safer indoor flight. If you're only going to fly outdoors, the included motor guards can be installed in place of the propeller guards, which will reduce weight and improve the flight performance. The included propellers are 2035 pentaprops, which are spun by GoFly's 1104 7500 kV motors. The motors are connected to a custom 4-in-1 20A ESC that includes a current sensor and supports all ESC protocols up to DShot 600. The custom flight controller is running Betaflight 3.1.0 on an F3 Omnibus image, which supports Betaflight OSD. The receiver pads are located directly beside the USB port, connect through UART3, and support all protocols. The quadcopter is only currently available as a plug-and-play, so you'll need to supply your own receiver. Since there is little room within the canopy, you'll need to use a micro receiver. The boot pads are located directly opposite the receiver pads, should you ever need them. Built into the flight controller is a beeper, which acts as a lost model alarm and as a low voltage alarm, as well as 2 programmable LEDs. Out of the box, the LEDs are set up to show arm state, though this can easily be changed in beta flight. Quadcopter supports 2S and 3S lipos. Flying line of sight on a 2S 600 mAh feels a little slower than you'd expect, but it's definitely no slouch. When flying FPV, the quad feels plenty fast on a 2S. The quad will be a very quick flyer on 3S. Moving to FPV, the quad performs very well. On 2S, the quad performs quite well, though it does have some trouble recovering from aggressive maneuvers. On stock PIDs, the quad flies great. There is no bounce back on flips and rolls, and the quad feels very responsive to my inputs. There is slight prop wash on dramatic maneuvers, but this can likely be tuned out and avoided in flight. Top speed in punch-outs is more than fast enough, and straight line speed is very fast when you're flying a smaller area. On 3S, I imagine this quadcopter will be very fast. The quad is set up from the manufacturer with stock PIDs, stick arming, and motor stop enabled. You will need to change these yourself if they are not to your liking. I disabled motor stop, put arming on a switch, and increased the rates to my preference. The camera is a 600 TV line CMOS with a very wide field of view. Despite this, the lens has relatively low distortion and little to no fisheye to it. This makes for a very enjoyable flight experience. As you've seen, the camera performs quite well in bright light, and also performs reasonably well in lower light. High contrast with the sun is not a big deal, as the camera maintains good exposure in most conditions. I did do some unintentional crash testing, and the quad held up very well. After a hard crash straight into a metal pole, there is just a few scuffs on the frame, showing how well the side plates and canopy will protect the electronics, as well as 2 bent props and a crack in 1 propeller guard. However, after bending the props back, I got right back to flying, and most of the footage in this review is from after the crash. VTX is 48 channel and broadcasts with 25 milliwatts of power. It has a sleeve dipole antenna that nests quite well in the canopy. However, its location within the canopy means you'll need to disassemble the body to change channels or frequencies. The reception from the VTX is relatively clear, although range is slightly low due to the low output power. However, I was still able to maintain clear video more than 150 meters away, and when flying behind trees and other obstacles. I had zero problems with the quadcopter out of the box. I bound my receiver, set my VTX channel, and flew immediately. The quad behaved like a proper plug-and-play. However, there are some minor changes that you will need to make in the settings. The voltage meter on my model read about 0.2 volts low, and the alarm was set at 3.5 volts for cell. This meant that the voltage alarm went off almost immediately into the flight, and was constantly flashing in the OSD. As well, the current sensor was not calibrated, and no value was given for this model. Thus, the readings from the current sensor were way off, and I'll need to calibrate them myself. Once I determine the correct values, I'll leave them in the description of this video. The only other gripe I have is with the included battery strap. The Velcro it's made from holds to itself very well, but it is just an overlapping strap with no loop in it. This makes it very difficult to tighten it enough to hold the battery in place without slipping. Aside from these minor problems, the quad performs very well. I'll try to get a smaller 3S LiPo to test it with to show how it performs on 3S. I think a 450 mAh 3S would be a good size for this quadcopter, and it should allow for some very fast and agile flight. I hope you've enjoyed the video, thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you did.